the 49ers and the Ravens. You brought up a very interesting point about that game, which is the blackout. Talk about that for a second, because that was a bigger deal than was ever made of it at the time.
Well, the blackout was interesting because, to me, you look at what goes on outside the game, and you look at stuff like the Department of Homeland Security. And the Department of Homeland Security, which is, involved in, terrorist investigations and that sort of thing, they put out numerous warnings and have run even scenarios about terrorists attacking a sporting event. Because obviously, if you were a terrorist and you were to do that, that would garner hundreds of millions of eyes. I mean, it would be just a thing that you could make your point very well made in the United States by going after some sort of sporting event. And the Super Bowl being the biggest sporting event here in the United States would obviously be, the best target to go after. And when you saw the blackout take place in the middle of the game, what really blew my mind was the fact that nobody panicked. I mean, nobody got out of line. Nobody went insane, despite the fact that supposedly nobody knew what was going on. The commissioner of the NFL never even supposedly got out of his seat during this event. They all just sat there and let it happen, and no big deal. Well, what also happened during that blackout was it supposedly changed the whole course of the game. And what happened was the Ravens, who were destroying the 49ers at that point, suddenly fell apart, allowing the 49ers to come back in the game and take it all the way down to the final play of the game, which went from being a blowout Super Bowl to being, one of the most exciting Super Bowls in recent memory. And wasn't it amazing how all of that benefited the National Football League?
You're right, and I had not thought about that until I was listening to one of your interviews the other day, because it is right there in front of us, because it has been drilled into our heads that, oh my God, what if the terrorists strike a sporting event? And so that should have set off huge warning signs, but it didn't. So the next thing you discussed that I find interesting is the New Orleans Saints winning the Super Bowl after Katrina. Here we have this city that was decimated by this terrible natural disaster, and then we have this Cinderella story, this beautiful story of the hometown team winning the Super Bowl. Seems convenient, and I like the Saints, but...
Well, the thing is I don't believe in coincidence,
right,
especially when you're talking about a business, and especially when you're talking about, literally hundreds of billions of dollars being involved. I mean, to just believe that things just happen. And that's what we're supposed to believe with all sports. We're supposed to believe, well, that's just the way the ball bounced. That's just the way it turned out. And it's amazing that a lot of the time, the storyline that the league is pushing, the storyline that the media is pushing for the league, winds up being the prevailing story and the one that winds up winning the championship, or at least going far enough to make a big enough noise to draw more eyes, get bigger ratings, more television revenue, more ad revenue, and everything else that goes along with it. And, we're supposed to just believe as fans that, well, that's just the way it happened. But the fact of the matter is that the league, every league, can fix their own games and do so legally. And that's one thing I try to emphasize, is the fact that there is no law that prevents the NFL, for example, from fixing or manipulating its own game to get a desired result. There's no law that protects that. The two closest laws are the quiz show law that dates back to the 1950s and the quiz show scandals, but that all related to intellectual contests broadcast on television, not physical contests. And the other law is the Sports Bribery Act in 1964, but that really covers bribing a player, a coach, or a referee to alter the outcome of a game, mainly for gambling purposes, and it was mainly an organized crime and gambling law. But the fact is, if a league tells its referees or tells its players how to do their job, it is merely an employer telling an employee what to do, and there's no bribery involved. So, the closest thing that it comes to is fraud. But the fact of the matter is, when you pay to see a football game or any other sporting event, your ticket is basically a license to get into the stadium to see the presentation they put on. And in fact, when you watch on television, they tell you, the following is a presentation of the National Football League, and then they end the game with the preceding was a presentation of the National Football League. It's a presentation. It's a show. And this is show business, and the leagues say we're show business. The players say we are entertainers. It's not necessarily sport. It's a business, and their business, and it's entertainment. And because of that, it allows them a lot of leeway to manipulate these games, to push these storylines, to get better ratings, to make more money, and to make, Cinderella stories like the New Orleans Saints come true, which makes a lot of people happy, and it makes them a lot of money.